Hello, everyone. This is your award supervisor here, and my entire job is to supervise every single film and their campaign to success, which is Oscars. And honestly, this is the best time of the year for me because I think that there's so much information gathered from the entire year so far and the early award film festivals. And we still have fall festivals that are really important, like Venice, Telluride, NIFF, TIFF. All of those will be finalized within a month, and we will basically have a clearer picture of what we should expect, aside from some blockbusters that we are looking forward to. And I think this is the sweet spot to kind of throw out some wild accusations and wild projections because if you think about it, most people that predict at this time are rarely ever fully correct by the time Oscars actually roll around. So I figured this is the only time that it makes sense for me to even say something wild, have some hope dictions, have some fun with it, because there's always so many good films that deserve awards and recognition and nominations. But by the time Oscars come around, so many films fall off the face of the planet because it's just not in the conversation, but it doesn't mean they're not good. So I want to take some time today to kind of go through the Oscar predictions that honestly, I don't think many people will have a very similar roster as me. And so I'm excited to go through because I think some of these films will probably fall off, but maybe not. And I would love to see them thrive. So, kicking it off, it's let's go for a very obvious one, the Odyssey. This is going to be a huge player. I know people hate it, and I know people love it, and I know that it's constantly in the conversation. But no matter what you think of it, it's going to be nominated a bunch of times at the Oscars. It could break the record. I doubt it. I think Sinners will continue that record for a minute, but the Odyssey is a technical achievement and it is a cinematic achievement, and I think it's going to rack up a lot of nominations. However, my hot take is that I don't think it's a lock for Best Picture at all. I think it's actually pretty weak in winning Best Picture. I actually think Christopher Nolan could do it again to win Best Director, but Best Picture might not go to The Odyssey. And my issue with that, and the reason why I think that, is because it was fully shot in IMAX. And while that is the reason why it is so impressive and so deservedly talked about in the award contention, it's also the reason why I don't think it's anyone's perfect film. There's glaring shots that are stayed in because that's all we have, and that's not typically great. There's moments that I think are cheapened because it was IMAX, where things are just not as clear. Where Matt Damon says, "But I like it," to the Lotus Flower. There's things that I just feel as though it's a little bit clunky and funny, and I think overall it's not going to win Best Picture or Screenplay. And I think the only awards that I see it coming away from is potentially a Best Director, Best Supporting Actress for Anne Hathaway, maybe Best Sound, probably Best Sound. But everything else is kind of on the chopping block. Maybe Best Editing. But I think a lot of other things are a little bit not guaranteed. I think there will be a lot of nominations, though, for sure. On to another picture that I think that everyone has been assuming is going to potentially do really well here, and that's Digger. And I want to say that I don't see it. I know Alejandro never really misses when it comes to his films, at least the last few films, but I just don't know. From the trailer itself, it really gave Mickey 17, and I love Mickey 17. It was one of my favorite films of that year. However, I don't necessarily see that as an Oscar player, and it just gave a little too peculiar, and I'm just not confident in it. And I think Tom Cruise, although he looks unrecognizable and he looks pretty committed to playing this role really crazily, I just don't see a world where Tom Cruise wins because it's not a biopic, and if the film is not like a perfect film, I just there's something in my veins that I am rejecting Digger, and I hope I'm wrong because I do think Tom Cruise is a very talented actor. But at the same time, just because someone is deserved and someone is it's due their time doesn't mean that this is the specific time it's due for, if that makes sense. Like Tom Cruise, yeah, this feels like the most perfect avenue. Mission Impossible is finished. Let's win that Oscar now. I just don't know if people see it that way, if the voters actually see it that way, if the film is just not perfect. So that's kind of my thing with Digger right now, and it's the same with Wild Horse 9. I get it. Again, the director Martin McDonough is a very acclaimed filmmaker who gets his actors into acting nominations and consistently gets Oscar nominations. But the trailer again doesn't really scream all that impressive to me, and I do think, despite Hollywood being pretty white right now, I'm not so inclined to believe that Wild Horse 9 is the type of film that the Oscars will really, really enjoy celebrating. It depends, but something about me is also saying that there might be less nominations than you think. And Digger, I'm not saying Digger or Wild Horse 9 will be shut out everywhere. I just don't think it's as strong as everyone believes. Everyone has Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, Best Picture for both of those films, and Best Screenplays and stuff like that. But I just don't see it winning or being nominated at every single category. Like Tom Cruise could get Best Actor, and it could be a Best Makeup. That could be the package. If it's not a strong enough picture, it's not going to get Best Picture. Just because it's directed by someone that is so revered doesn't mean that they won't have a flop here and there. So that's kind of where I'm at with that too. But the next film I kind of want to talk about is La Bola Negra. I mean, I think we have to now really understand that Netflix is a crazy studio. You cannot go against Netflix in the Oscars campaign. Netflix will put in a film in the Oscars 10. Like it will happen. You can't deny it, and we just have to wait and see who their focus is. And right now it's very clear that La Bola Negra is their focus, and I'm really happy for it. I mean, it is an international film. It's queer. It's directed by two filmmakers that are ambitious and not, they're going to be newly celebrated. And I think it's the perfect time to kind of boost that film to potentially win Best Picture. I do see a world where that happens, and I do see a world where La Bola Negra just sweeps a lot of categories. Um, but it's gonna be interesting to see if that is actually the player that everyone is currently thinking it is. Because a month or two ago, I don't think La Bola Negra was necessarily that hyped up. It was in consideration, but it was never like there were other international films that were getting a lot of praise, like all of a sudden Fjord, Fatherland, and now La Bola Negra is like absolutely the one to beat. So we'll see when it comes out what's going to happen. But I do think from initial um, reviews and everything, this is going to be a film that everyone is looking forward to potentially upset the Odyssey, and I'm here for it. Um, let's move on to the invite. I think Olivia Wilde is getting Best Actress and Best Director. That's my hot take. I think The Invite is one of the best films made this year, and it captures so many hearts. Like basically, it's almost the vibe of the drama, except even more well done and less controversial. But it has that same vibe of like, this is flashy, this is really well done, this appeases to like everyone that is in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And I think that's going to be a very very um solid and consistent film during the award season. I think that people right now are kind of like on the edge about it. I think it's getting Best Actress, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress, Best Adapted Screenplay, like all of those above the Best Editing. I think it's getting a lot of nominations, and I think we should not count that movie out at all. I think at this point, The Invite is definitely up there, and like box office wise, it did pretty well. Reviews, everyone has been raving about it and kind of basically erasing Don't Worry Darling from Olivia Wilde's filmography because the other films just stand out so well that she's proving that Don't Worry Darling was the fluke instead of Olivia Wilde being a good director was a fluke. Does that make sense? I think this film is absolutely changing the narrative about Olivia Wilde, and all she has to do is not direct her partner, basically. But in my opinion, I think Seth Rogen also deserves a nomination. He won't get it. I think that it would be nice to see both Penelope Cruz and Olivia Wilde get a nomination here. I don't know about Edward Norton, but I do think those two actresses will do well. Moving on to Obsession. Man, this film is just horror has been slowly creeping up to be a genre to watch. And I fully agree with it. I think horror lately has been so well done, so smart, so well crafted, and actually inspiring for filmmakers because it is the only genre that studios will give a new filmmaker the chance to make it for such a small budget, and that filmmaker always turns it out. Obsession is less than $1 million, and it has made so much money. But not only that, the performances have been insanely good. The writing is great. I have a feeling Indian Navarrete is winning Best Actress. And so then I think it's also getting into Best Picture and Screenplay and an outside shot for Best Director. I just, that film is going to continue to snowball. This year, unless these fall festival films, I do think some will come out as really, really positive, and will fill out the rest of the slates. But I think that this film or this year, this Oscar cycle is going to heavily focus on box office because The Odyssey, Obsession, Project Hail Mary, Dune Part 3, if it does well, The Invite, these films have done really well at the box office in comparison to their budget, but they're also really well crafted. And I think it's time for Oscars to kind of merge the two because there were years back then where people were just like watching the Oscars and like, I've never heard of this film. And if there are films that are actually well made and made a bunch of money, the Oscars should actually absolutely prioritize celebrating those. And I think voters will also celebrate those as well because who is going to seek out a film that no one really saw when there are actual films that did so well in the box office and are actually really well made? I think that's always going to trump anything else. And so this year feels like a year where we might have 5 box office successes, and that's pretty rare. So that's my take on Obsession. I do think Indian Already is going to do really well. Moving on to Project Hail Mary, I guess. And also, I'm going through all of my Best Picture picks so far. So, 1 is Odyssey for now. La Bola Negra 2, The Invite's 3, Obsession's 4, Project Hail Mary's 5. And Digger and Wild Horse 9 are not in my top 10 right now. So, moving on to Project Hail Mary, I am only putting this movie at 5 right now because it really depends on how the resurgence comes in. I see a world where this film dies a little bit, and there will be some tech noms that will happen, and maybe it'll be like a 9th or 10th place Best Picture spot. Or people could kind of revisit this film again and be like, this is such a good film, and it deserves to be awarded more, and it'll be in the top 5. I personally don't think this film is the best thing ever, But there are a lot of people that do feel that way, and I do have to admit that this is a crowd pleaser, and it's well made, and it's very practical. The effects, it's gonna win best visual effects, for sure. And I just think that this movie is not gonna die fully. I think it might actually just linger in the 8, 9, 10 spot for best picture, and then for every other category, it'll either be like fourth or fifth, or they'll miss it, and that goes for like Ryan Gosling. I don't think Ryan Gosling will make it, to be honest. Um, so that's my thoughts on Project Hail Mary. Um, I do think it could probably win Best Visual Effects, and it will be nominated for a bunch of other things. But yeah, moving on. This is my first fall festival prediction because we don't actually know how this film will land with the viewers. But there's a few of these films that I'm like looking out for. So one of them is Behemoth. I saw the trailer for this, and I think if people are not tired of Pedro Pascal, then this film will be really well received. I do think it looks great, and I think his acting is already impeccable in it, and I think that it's going to do well if the viewers allowed it, and if people are not annoyed with how much they've seen Pedro Pascal. There's been this tightrope that he's been walking on, where I do think that for some reason people feel like it's overexposure, and so there's a world where I think this film could never even make it because of how much people just hate to see Pedro Pascal everywhere. But I think it's a strong enough film that could get in. Speaking of, I think Prime Time's another one. I think this Chris Hansen bullshit that's happening where he's buying ads prior to the film and basically publicizing the film even more is going to drive people to watch Primetime. So this might be another box office hit that propels, you know, Robert Pattinson to a Best Actor nom, and I mean this is going to be the only like biopic type film, and Oscar voters do love to award actors like that. So this could really make or break Robert Pattinson into potentially a winner or a solid lock for a nomination. Obviously, it could really just not go anywhere, but I have a feeling that Primetime is going to land in the top 10 for Best Picture, for Best Actor, for screenplay, and all that. So, yeah. Um, Another film that I think is potentially going to be really well received at the fall festivals is The Debut. I think that Jesse Eisenberg has had a great track record, and this feels like, an actor's dream to watch both Paul Giamatti and Julianne Moore act their asses off about acting. I mean, we love, like, Oscar voters love a film about acting, and I think these two will bring it. And it's going to at least get some nominations in the acting categories. And I think it'll hover in the 8 to 10 range as well for Best Picture, but I think it's going to be there. Okay. Now, the next few, I'm not so sure as well. And I would love to see what happens after the Fall Festival to really determine. But I think Dune 3 has a very big shot to be like, to have a trajectory of like Lord of the Rings. Not an Oscar winner, but to get even more nominations and maybe get a Best Director nom for Denis, if possible, or even the Best Actor nom for Timothy Chalamet. I don't know, but I do think that there's a potential here, despite Messiah being a book that no one really likes. His adaptation might make it so that everyone is very surprised and happily, pleasantly shocked by the movie itself, and I think that could do wonders for its Oscar campaign. um, Elsinore, starring Andrew Scott and Olivia Colman. Depending on, again, a biopic, but depending on how people receive it, this could be finally a year for Andrew Scott to win it all. Olivia Colman to have a nomination in the Best Supporting Actress spot. It's very possible, and I actually do believe in Elsinore. Um, I just don't know if it's a Best Picture nom, uh, and if it's like enough to like propel a win for Andrew Scott. But from early like reactions and just what people think about it, Andrew Scott deserves to be nominated and even win. I mean, he's had so many projects where he deserved to be nominated or win, but he never got it. And I think this is going to be one of those years that he finally gets it. Another one is All of a Sudden. It's a very long film, and I just don't know if people are going to actually go for it. Same with like Fjord. I mean, I think those two are very in very similar spots right now. They're battling for the international, potential best picture spot alongside La Bola Negra. But I think All of a Sudden has a lot of people that would put it at number one. Whereas Fjord, I feel like people might be more middling towards it. I don't know how. I don't think people were as passionate about Fjord than they are about All of a Sudden. So that's probably why I have that there right now. So we shall see. But those are my top 10, and it looks pretty wild, kind of. Um, because I don't have Wild Horse 9 or Digger. But that's my wild take. And I'm very curious as to what you guys think. I really want to know some of your hot takes. I'll go through briefly about the other categories. I put most of my emphasis on the best picture because I haven't seen some of these films. I can't tell you what my picks for best actors and actress and all of that is because or director because I haven't seen it. I'm just looking at like the trailer or the reviews so far and the narratives behind it, and I think that is way better of an indicator for like best picture than anything else. But best director, I do think I have Christopher Nolan winning, and I have the La Bola Negra Javier's being nominated. Outside of that, and Olivia Wilde too. But outside of that, I'm not really positive on my best director picks. For best actress, the ones that I have really solidly in, I think, are Indy Neveready, Julianne Moore, and Olivia Wilde. The rest, I could see Sandra Hüller and Rose. It's a very weak category, in my opinion. Best actor, I'm hoping that Andrew Scott gets it. Andrew Scott wins it, but hopefully he gets in. But I have Tom Cruise, Matt Damon, Robert Pattinson, Pedro Pascal. It's a it's a younger crowd. I'm not positive if that's going to be the final five, but that's from what I've heard about everything. Those five feels pretty okay for me. And then best supporting actress, I do think I have Anne Hathaway winning this for The Odyssey, but I could also go to like Penelope Cruz for The Invite or um, Lola from La Bola Negra. Um, Olivia Colman could get nominated for Elsinore. Um, but other than that, I'm not too positive on everyone else. And then for supporting actor, I'm also very, very not locked in on this. But Paul Giamatti for the debut, I think he was pretty close in the holdovers. He was probably top three. So I feel like this could be the year for him. And then yeah, the rest I'm not too sure yet, but this is kind of my preliminary picks. I would love to hear what you guys think about the fall festival lineups and who will probably stand out for you. I really want to know what you guys think prior to things shaping because like after September, you have to realize we're gonna know basically the top 20 films for sure, top 15, top 20, and we're gonna know mostly like who is gonna get nominated because all the regional awards will start rolling in too. So we're gonna start knowing what critics actually think, and by then, we're just gonna start predicting based on the handful that the critics have chosen. Right now, it's still pretty free for all, and I like that, and I think that it's all about taste at this point and what you think is going to work out in the Oscars and narrative. So I love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please let me know what films stand out and will surprise people that currently don't have it predicted, and what films you think are absolute overly rated. Like I could see a world where Obsession's overly rated, Project Hail Mary, The Odyssey, even The Invite. Like, I want to hear what you guys think and why. So tune in for the next video. I can't wait to talk to you guys for this entire season. Thank you.